Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Rowe, and we know that you're wondering, I wonder who's getting nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress next year. Like, I really want to know. And luckily, we've cracked the case.
We're probably going to be more wrong here than we are for, like, picture, for example.
We're probably, I think actor, I have a better feeling about than actress. Let's go with Best Actor. So, it seems like a lot of people have Coleman Domingo at number one, right?
Precisely, in the app, 76% of people are predicting him to win.
This makes sense in that,
predict a
some people see the movie, we know he's good enough to be nominated, and I would say it would be a pretty good win.
Oh yeah, it'd be a great win.
Not everybody thinks the movie's winning Best Picture, though. But, if this movie's winning SAG Ensemble, which I think is more than an if at this point, I think he comes along with that at SAG, which is the easiest way for me to imagine that he, wins the Oscar. But I will say that perhaps we should pump the brakes and think about the fact that he's not transforming in the way that many Best Actors do. And so if we think about, the transformation performances here, I think Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice is certainly one. He will be playing Donald Trump. When you see this movie, I need you to, call me immediately and tell me what the fuck.
I'll tell you who's going to get nominated.
No, I just need to know what that is.
It's
very hard for me to imagine a Trump performance that's not, overtly funny. And we want it to be a performance that we take seriously, and that will be what makes it what it is. And I think that we're going to get that. I just don't understand how we're going to get that.
You're going to get it. It'll be fine.
Ali Abbasi's last film, Holy Spider, very good lead performances, and I don't think that he's the kind of director who's trying to get everybody to go way over the top and make some zany thing. I think that this will be an interesting performance. I think it'll surprise people. I'll just say that.
I mean, given my confidence in The Apprentice, I have to have Sebastian Stan in here. And I also have him at number 2 in my list.
I have him at number 2 as well, just because it's transforming.
I mean, if The Apprentice is in Best Picture, there's absolutely fucking no way that the person who plays Donald Trump in the lead role is going to get nominated. The movie can't be good with the performance being bad. It just can't. It has to be a really good, pitch perfect, spot on performance.
So even if it's Michael Fassbender and Steve Jobs, where it's not quite Trump, but
sure, it doesn't matter.
It's a believable character. That's good enough too. That's good enough too.
It doesn't matter how accurate it is. To me, it just matters that it's right for the movie.
Right. Ray Fiennes in Conclave, I don't think he'll necessarily be giving us a crazy character or anything, but I very much believe in Conclave, and a trailer screened at CinemaCon, and everybody who's seen it has full-blown Oscar confidence. So if you didn't before, know that other people do.
Next Best Picture has a great YouTube video on their YouTube channel covering a lot of the trailers and footage that premiered at CinemaCon with a lens towards which of those films could be nominated for Oscars. And Daniel Howitt said there that Conclave looks somewhere between Oscar bait and then a full-blown commercial thriller. And that sounds great. I mean, apparently there's explosions in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I think the film won't be a Best Picture winner, but it will be a consensus that was a very well done film, and the performances are the reason that I think this film is really going to shine at the Oscars.
Have Ray Fiennes. People really want to nominate him again. Yeah. He hasn't been nominated in a long time.
There's a few nominations that Conclave could get in acting categories. And of course, you got to prioritize the performances for the films you're betting on in Best Picture. And that's important at this time. If I'm really excited for a performance, but I don't think the film's in Best Picture, maybe that one slides a little bit lower on the list.
We do have Daniel Craig in Queer, though.
Yeah. Segueing into Daniel Craig in Queer.
I have him a little lower.
This performance gets me really excited. Queer seems to be a character study. He's playing a heroin addict who is also maybe addicted to love or sex or something of that sort. I think it's going to be a really compelling performance. Don't know if Queer is in for Best Picture, but I'm certainly considering it. It's probably a top 15 film for me in Best Picture at the moment, but it's really hard for me to tell what it could be. And that's the reason why, Daniel Craig in Queer, I'm going to put him a little bit lower than some of the others, but I could see that being into Best Actor without a Best Picture just because it might be that exciting.
And also, Daniel Craig, I think people will think that it's time for him to be taken really seriously people have been taking him seriously as an actor, but to give him this honor, I think he's been building up to this for a while.
To put our fingers even more on the pulse of Daniel Craig getting an Oscar nomination and how much people want it, he's number 2 in the app right now, and it's a pretty clear number 2.
Perhaps Justin Kuritsky is apparently having written a banger screenplay for Challengers. That collaboration with him and Luca really seemed to work for people. that could be a good sign for Queer as well.
There was no reason to believe that Queer is not going to be a good movie. But is it All of Us Strangers? That's all I have to say about that.
And finally, to round out the 5, and yes, we do have the consensus 5 that everybody else has on your app. And I'm not surprised about this. You know, Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, people are not putting him at number 1. You know, we don't think he's going to win again, folks. I would be very shocked if he was going to win again. You know, some people think he's not going to get nominated again. Like, no, I think if the movie is nominated for Best Picture again, he's going to get nominated again.
But will it be a case of Leonardo DiCaprio in The Killers of the Flower Moon where it's
This is
like,
not the same thing.
I have to step aside because Lady Gaga, you did amazing, and you're the center of the movie.
Lady Gaga is not Lily Gladstone.
Well, let's put it this way.
She doesn't need
Joaquin
extra
Phoenix
support.
is not going to campaign. He didn't even campaign for the first
Well,
one.
he won anyway.
And he's extra not going to campaign because the guy doesn't want another Oscar. And he probably doesn't feel like he needs one.
Whatever.
And if the Joker's doing well, then like they're not going to care what goes on. It's all Lady Gaga. It's all Lady Gaga for the campaign.
They love this character. He's gonna be great again, and they're gonna be like, but he's doing so much.
Sure, but it's less compelling, and I could see it being like, we loved your performance in that, Joaquin, but we just want to put somebody else in there who's a little bit fresher. Like, think about how Jeffrey Wright got nominated this year over Leonardo DiCaprio because they just were more excited about Jeffrey Wright getting his first nomination.
But Kate Blanchett got nominated twice for Elizabeth.
That's fine. Yeah, it could happen, but I think it's less likely for sure. I mean, you have it at number 5, so you're kind of on the cusp. You know, given that we've aligned with the community, which is 941 participants. Like, good job, guys. Like, you really hopped on the early Oscars bandwagon. So out of 1,000 people, like, they agree this is the top 5, although in a slightly different order. Let me address that Adam Driver and Megalopolis, and then Timothée Chalamet are at number 6 and 7. I think this is a lack of imagination here. Even if Megalopolis was amazing, I don't see how. I don't know. I don't really believe that Adam Driver.
I think he's gonna be just like kind of going around and like speaking to folks and doing his Adam Driver thing. And I think he's gonna have like a couple scenes where, you know, he yells and he's like, "It's my project." But like, other than that, you know, I don't know. I'm not seeing it, and I also just. I think we might be in for Megaflopolis.
Oh,
and I don't want to say it.
Wait, did you just coin that?
I'm not sure if I heard
coin
that before.
Megaflopolis?
I made it up, but I might not have been the first to make it up.
Holy shit, you're popularizing it now, though. That's so perfect.
I hope it's not.
We all hope the best for Megalopolis, especially me, given that I'm going to be at Cannes for it.
That's true.
Everyone's going to want it to be good, or at least I want it to be good enough that having a conversation about it is interesting.
I'm not going to say Timothée Chalamet is impossible for Dune Part 2. I don't know if you'd call that impossible.
I don't know if
because there's been plenty of praise for him, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think Dune's getting any acting nominations. I think it's a little more likely than the first, but I still don't think it's going to happen. John David Washington, The Piano Lesson, is kind of compelling. I feel like John David Washington has never been like 100% like selling everybody on a performance, whether it's like Black Klansman or Malcolm and Marie. This has a chance to be his best performance, I think. The Piano Lesson's going to be a major acting showcase, but I do think that the show will be stolen by Samuel L. Jackson overall in that film. He might get SAG nominated as well. He got SAG nominated for Black Klansman. He actually came kind of close for that, so I actually did like him a lot in Malcolm and Marie, though.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely a top 10 for me because The Piano Lesson is likely to get very close to the Oscars. If not Best Picture, it's going to land some acting nomination somewhere.
I want to slot in Paul Bettany for the collaboration. I'm not sure a lot of people have him on the radar. I mean, maybe Jeremy Pope will be a bit more of the standout, but Paul Bettany and Jeremy Pope, I think, are both going to be like giving some really great performances. I mean, they've done this on the stage, so it will, you know, translate very directly, but he's playing Andy Warhol.
And the film is written by Anthony McCartan.
That's right.
Writer of Two Popes, Bohemian Rhapsody, Darkest Hour. And last year's I Want to Dance with Somebody, which is the only film recently that hasn't gotten any Academy Award or critical success. He had a track record for a while of writing films that got actors lead nominations.
Well, this is like Two Popes. It's based off of a play that he wrote. I Want to Dance with Somebody was like some musical biopic, like we're tired of this kind of thing. So I think there's like, I wouldn't underestimate this one. I expect it to...
I mean, the director, we don't know anything about them, but...
He directed the play. It's
Okay.
gonna be very actor writing
Yeah.
focused. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, so that's what the collaboration, I would take it seriously for acting. Is Michael Shannon in the end?
That's
Does he lead?
supporting.
That's
Let's
supporting?
talk about
Okay.
George Mackay for the end, everybody. George Mackay is lead for the end. That's what's happening here. We know this because we have a very extended plot synopsis. In fact, I think he is maybe the protagonist. Him and Tilda Swinton, I think, will be leads. And I actually think there might be some supporting performances in the end that we can talk about in our next video, including Moses Ingram, just based on who the characters are and stuff. And also, reading the plot gives me plenty of assurance that this is not a net. This is not like a bonkers ass movie that's going to isolate people. Like, the movie has clear ideas it wants to communicate. Very similar to Act of Killing. It's going to be about a family that is dealing with repressed guilt. George Mackay's character seems to be offered some kind of redemption when a young woman who I think is a romantic interest for him, like, shows up at their home. I don't know why, but I do have trouble seeing George Mackay getting a lead actor nomination at this point. But
Yeah.
he was in 1917. Like,
And yes, he was in 1917. It wasn't even close.
He's gonna be singing and dancing though. Like, this could be pretty big for him.
Something about him makes him feel like he's acting really hard in every role he's in.
You think so?
You know what I mean?
Did you not love him?
He's
as a Beast?
acting. He's just acting really hard. I like him. I think he's very good. But that's kind of my impression.
Okay, you say so.
I don't know why, and I don't know if that's fair. I'm not anti George Mackay. I think he works really well in all the movies I've seen him in. Let's address Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain.
I think supporting.
You think supporting?
I-
So
I've-
that's
I've thought
category
about
fraud. Let's be clear. They're both dual leads, but Jesse Eisenberg is more of the protagonist. I think that is clear from a writing standpoint, like who's driving the story.
Yes.
But they're both leads. I
think
it's
so.
a two-hander film. Think of Rain Man, for example. Justin Hoffman was the lead in that film, but he was not the protagonist.
More now than ever, though, let's be honest, a studio's never going to campaign two actors and lead actor. Like, they will
No.
never do that, right? Am I right?
They're not going to. Here's what they could do. They could do it. They could do a Carol, where they could put
They're
Jesse
never
Eisenberg
going
in
to do that.
supporting.
That's not going to happen. That makes less sense to me. And also,
Interesting.
why wouldn't the studios think they have a better shot at him in supporting?
Maybe
I think
you're right.
they'll think that.
Maybe you're right, because remember End of the Tour? Remember the end of the tour?
What was
And Jason Segel
comparing-
went in supporting.
No, I think that's what's going to happen. I just think that that's
Man,
just what
I think you've kind of convinced me, because
That's
you're right.
what it's gonna be.
Studios do not do dual leads. They don't campaign dual leads anymore. It doesn't happen.
I think that they can get Kieran Culkin in too. I think they know that they can get him in, and
yeah.
I think that they'll think it's better in
Because
supporting.
sometimes I think, oh well, what if they just made both go into lead? And yeah, sure, Jesse Eisenberg, he won't be nominated, but they never do that. They never throw somebody under the bus.
I actually think that Kieran Culkin's going to get nominated in the supporting.
You actually think it's going to happen?
I think I think Searchlight it has the movie in really good hands, and I think
Okay.
that he's just it's very buzzy, and
Okay.
he's a buzzy actor.
I would put him in. He's a lead performance to me, but
I
that's
totally
cool.
agree.
That's
I totally
cool.
agree.
Okay.
Tom Hanks for Here. I think it's going to be another good thing, but it's going to be like all those Tom Hanks performances that just don't get nominated, even if the movie's in picture. We have Andrew Garfield and We Live in Time. A lot of people believe in that. I think that's going to be a bit, I don't know, like young adulty too romance.
No,
for the
I think
Oscars.
before I would mention him, I would go mention Glenn Powell.
I'm not
and
necessarily
Hitman.
mentioning people in order, but I actually
Okay.
wouldn't mention Glenn Powell and Hitman. That's too comedic.
But it's kind of like The Disaster Artist. It's a fun performance.
If it's not
that-
crowded enough where he can squeeze
it has
in,
to be
then-
not crowded.
It's also coming out in the summer.
It has to be not crowded.
It's coming out in like June.
I mean, remember Viggo Mortensen, Captain Fantastic? That movie came out in the summer, and the reason he got in is because it wasn't that crowded. So I think it's something that
Yeah,
could
but
happen.
Hitman's also a Disaster Artist was like he was playing a person.
It's all about whether it's crowded, but I think he's in line somewhere, and then if a couple
I'd have
people
him
drop,
maybe
he
a
could- he
little
could move
lower
up.
than you.
I don't think it's gonna happen though. I kind of hope that we could see it, but
Nicholas Hoult in Juror Number 2 I actually think is possible. I think that movie may be very likable and like, witty and snappy, and it seems interesting, and he may be very good. I think he's going to have a good year this year. Kevin Costner in Horizon, I don't really see it. I think he's kind of doing
Oh,
too
yeah.
much of like what we think that Kevin Costner does.
I'm not even sure he's the lead.
You don't think so?
In the trailer, it's really not clear to me that
I guess
he's
so.
lead.
I'm not too concerned about
It's
him
not clear.
anyway.
I think he's probably, but he seems to be playing the patriarch of a family, and maybe it's more of an ensemble. I mean, look at it this way: it's kind of mini-series, and I don't think it's going to be one. I think it's going to be very much an ensemble.
Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. Don't know anything, just mentioning that.
Hey,
Paul Mescal, Gladiator 2.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I mean, if the movie's really in there, I could even see him missing anyway, though, honestly.
Like
maybe
most-
Denzel Washington's more of a standout
Sure.
supporting or whatever.
But Paul Mescal was nominated previously, so if Gladiator, I mean, if it's in Best Picture, holy shit. I mean,
Yeah,
if that
he probably
happens,
would.
Wow.
He probably would.
But
yeah.
he would probably go along with it.
Not guaranteed, though, because it's kind of an action thing.
Be like The Martian.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be like Gladiator, maybe, where Russell Crowe got nominated for that.
All of the reactions from CinemaCon, they were very impressed with Gladiator 2.
Yeah, but I saw a lot of them highlighting the supporting performances.
Yeah. What about Andre Holland and the actor?
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I think the movie's going to be odd, though.
Yeah, it's a neon film, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's an odd film, and he actually has a really great performance in Exhibiting Forgiveness that I would recommend. I would recommend that movie in general. His performance in that film was Oscar nomination worthy as far as I'm concerned, but that's probably not going to happen. I don't see that in the film going anywhere. Maybe this one could get an Indie Spirit nomination. I wouldn't be surprised at that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very complex, meaty role, but that the film's going to be weird and may even require multiple watches, is what I've gathered from reading reviews of the book, that it's complicated.
Now, I want to mention Ethan Harris for the Nickel Boys, who is the protagonist of the Nickel Boys. Young, fresh face. That makes him not likely to get nominated unless he like fucking blows the absolute roof off, right? Even if the movie's in Best Picture, I think it's an uphill
It's just
battle.
very hard for younger people.
Ben Whishaw and Leaving Off the Ballot. I think this movie will be too bonkers for the Oscars, but you know, in just in that he could win Best Actor at Cannes and get some buzz there. I think that's possible. Oh, Canada. I don't know if Richard Gere or Jacob Elordi is lead. Maybe it's a problem that they're both playing the same character, and maybe I don't know. I don't have anybody in Bird because, as we know from the plot synopsis for Bird, I don't believe there's a lead male in that film.
That's right, yeah. Bird from the plot synopsis sounds like Barry Keoghan is supporting, and even Franz Rogowski looks to be supporting.
And maybe a bigger character even.
Bill Skarsgård, Nosferatu.
Stop.
Definitely not a
Please
lead.
stop.
I'm just going down the list. Shush.
Best Actress. So I don't really know who to have number. You know what? Honestly, maybe the person who makes most sense at number one is Lady Gaga.
Well, I have Angelina Jolie.
That's fine, but Lady Gaga, we acknowledge, like, that's more likely to be in Best Picture than Maria.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga
that's true.
hasn't
That's
won
a
an
good point.
Oscar.
That's true. And she's been nominated.
People love it when you play the Joker, and she's playing the Joker.
Yeah.
So
She's playing the Joker.
she'll
but
be the
female.
third Joker to win an Oscar.
You know,
right?
it almost feels too easy to predict her.
I'm not strongly suggesting it's going to happen.
Is me
but
saying it's too easy a compelling argument for her to win the Oscar, or is it against it?
I think it actually might
that
be
would
easy.
be too much of an obvious thing for us to do.
But Angelina Jolie and Maria is, that is a major performance.
After Kristen Stewart pulled off the nomination for Spencer when Spencer was not performing well, didn't get any BAFTA nominations, Angelina Jolie for Maria looks even safer for a nomination because that movie had a lot of backlash. I don't imagine Maria could have more backlash than that.
It could be weird.
Yeah, sure, Jackie. I think it's going to be more like Jackie.
I think so too. I think it'll be more like
So
Jackie.
I'm considering Maria for.
But I wouldn't put that at number one because, of course, Jackie didn't win and Kristen Stewart didn't win.
They were both they were both close. I mean, Kristen Stewart had
winning?
her moment where she was winning a bunch of critic awards.
Okay,
and
sure.
then Natalie Portman won the Critics' Choice.
But that just proved the gap. That just proved the gap between critics and audiences. Really, is all that
yeah.
did.
I think
she
that's.
almost
I
didn't
think what
even
you're
get
saying is
nominated.
fair. I could see Angelina Jolie taking Critics Awards, and then Lady Gaga takes the Oscar. Maybe right now, those two are the most compelling. You take your pick. Oh, so you know what?
Oh.
In the app, this is kind of predictable though.
Really?
So in the app, Lady Gaga's number 2, Angelina Jolie's number 3, Saoirse Ronan is number 1 for Blitz. And this makes sense because she has the overdue thing happening and people are like, she has to get it! The next Best Picture movie she's gonna be in, she has to win for that!
Yeah.
And, well, I get it. I get how this plays out. But I don't know if Blitz is gonna be her best performance. I really don't feel like
I'm
it
not
will be.
feeling it either. I mean, even though Steve McQueen really gets the best out of his actors,
Sure.
it seems a bit ensemble-y. Can I say that? Like, maybe a little bit? It's not the kind of thing where I would bet on her getting in without the movie. I wouldn't bet on her getting in without the
Yeah,
movie.
but you could bet on the movie.
You can bet on the movie, yeah.
Yeah,
You can bet on the movie, yeah.
It's
Okay,
Blitz.
that's fine. I don't think of her as doing, like, the craziest, like, most over-the-top transformation. And overdue is interesting because in her case, she's very young still. Even though she has 4 nominations, at the same time, it's not, like, urgent.
No,
it's not
I
like
think
she's
people-
gonna die soon.
I think
Like,
she does need an Oscar sooner rather than later, because this sort of thing happens where, like, if you kind of miss your moment, like, sometimes you can't get the Oscar ever again. This is a good bet. I think you should have her in there. It's safe.
Okay, but I want to suggest
she's leading a Best Picture predicted movie. That's all you need.
I want to suggest to you that there are a lot of contenders, and that it's possible that maybe she even misses for Blitz. I don't know why.
But in this scenario where Blitz misses too, or where Blitz...
I don't know. I'll go over some of the other contenders. Uzo Aduba in The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat, which maybe they should just rename it The Supremes. We actually don't know who's playing who in terms of like which roles in the books. We know who the Supremes are. We know who's playing the Supremes. But she is listed number 1 on Wikipedia and on TMDb, so I'm just going to assume that she's playing Odette, who's the lead character. She is very well liked from TV. I think this could happen. I think it could definitely
Well,
happen.
it really depends on what you think about the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. I think it's a likely TIFF breakout.
I think so too.
I don't feel super confident in that. I don't feel extraordinarily confident. I could see it as a film where the lead doesn't get nominated, but the supporting performances do, because it's kind of a three-hander. So in those movies like Hidden Figures, often one supporting performance gets nominated and the lead doesn't.
People wouldn't have let Taraji P. Henson slip through the cracks if that came out again.
Yeah, they would have.
You think so?
Oh,
Like,
sure.
I feel like it was weird that
Oh,
she didn't
sure.
get nominated
Look at
for
The
that.
Color Purple.
That wasn't nominated for picture.
Yeah, but it was like insane how much, you know, Fantasia Barrino did not go along with it, and
She
I
would have
don't know.
gone along if it was in picture, maybe. I don't know what to say about that. I think
It's-
she's going to be really good.
It's I know, but it's more of a three-hander, I think. And they're gonna single out someone like Ingenue Ellis as supporting,
yeah.
all they need is that one nomination.
I think, no. I think that this is a 2 acting nomination movie, my friend.
Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like it's the best bet to put her in the top 5.
Okay. Well, also, like, are you going to do a lineup that's just everyone who's been nominated before is the question. I want to ask you about Robin Wright for Here.
You know the answer to this, buddy. It's whether Here gets nominated or not. It's
Exactly.
the same
now
as,
let's talk
it's
about
the same as the
exactly.
Supremes.
Now let's talk about whether Here gets nominated or not, because we heard that the studio received their best ever test screening reactions. Now we heard that we heard the same about 13 Lives from Ron Howard, and it didn't happen. But this movie seems really like creatively interesting, and people might get down with text, people might get down with the movie. Now Robin Wright getting nominated, like her narrative to get nominated for this, she's never been nominated before, and it's a reunion with like her most famous role. Like, oh man! And apparently she has all the emotionally heavy moments.
Yeah,
she
and
comes along with the movie,
and she's made quite a comeback in TV. So people are very much like conscious of what she's doing right now.
Oh yeah. So I actually think I would take that extremely seriously. As long as you think as long as you
Fair
believe
enough.
in Here, I think you'd take it extremely seriously.
Sure.
I also want to tell you this: how the fuck is Tilda Swinton going to miss a nomination this year?
Oh,
when
yeah,
she
yeah,
is
yeah.
in both The End, which maybe the end doesn't happen,
Right.
But if the end happens, how could she not come along? And then her safety net for the end is The Room Next Door. She's leading an Almodovar film.
Yeah, and what do we think about The Room Next Door and its release date? We think it's going to come out this year.
Well,
we don't know that for sure.
Based off of Pain and Glory and Parallel Mothers, and when those movies stopped production and still had time to prepare at Venice, like, this is on track. Almodovar does not spend a lot of time in post-production.
They
So
turned it
this
around
very
fast.
well could come out this year. It's not confirmed, but it could. It's Sony Pictures Classics. They don't even have anything else this year.
Based on Almodovar's previous 2 films, I don't know if he's making stuff that's like for the Academy. Those films were interesting, but I wouldn't say that either of them had wide or mainstream appeal.
And yet, they got lead acting nominations.
And yet they got lead acting nominations.
So did
here's what I
Voltaire.
think about the Room Next Door.
And he's
here's
been
what I think about it.
he's actually had a lot of his movies nominated for major Academy Awards, like,
So,
surprisingly.
My opinion
Yes.
is, I don't know about the top 10 for Best Picture. Could happen, but I think screenplay and an acting nomination is very likely when that comes out.
Or 2.
Maybe she'll be campaigning and supporting for The End because they know that she's going to get nominated for The Room Next Door. The other one that I'm very compelled by is Marianne Jean-Baptiste from Hard Truths.
I'm compelled by that as well.
The Mike Leigh film. Now, Hard Truths, I think, looks on track for a screenplay nomination as well.
Well, maybe.
Maybe, but right now there's actually room for it. Like when I'm making my screenplay
There's
lineup,
room, yeah.
I can find room. I can also kind of squeeze her in to Best Actress. And Mike Leigh, it's rare that his films don't go along with Oscar nominations. Now, he did just have Peterloo, so take that for what you will. And Mr. Turner, the lead performance didn't go along with that, but this is more like his earlier works. It's not a period film where it's just a character-focused drama. Probably gonna have a great ensemble. And this is a reunion of sorts, right? Because Marianne Jean-Baptiste, she was supporting nominated for Secrets and Lies, which he also wrote and directed.
That's right.
This is very compelling because I think it's going to do really well with critics. And we just have to see if it's like awardsy overall, and hopefully it's not slight enough that people are like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what we do for award season.
Yeah, I think it would have to be like a pretty big movie, and it's Bleecker Street. Was Golda their first Oscar-nominated film?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, you know.
But they have a lot going on this year.
Hard Truths, yeah, it's worth considering in a category or two. It'll probably get either actress or screenplay, I guess. The reason I don't have her in is just because I think other films are more compelling in Best Picture. Jessica Lange for Long Day's Journey Into Night. Apparently, we don't even know if that movie's still going to come out this year. Like, I don't know what's going on with it. Like, it just feels like it doesn't exist at this point. It's giving Next Goal Wins, even though I understand why that seems like it would definitely happen. You know, in the next tier, I would say Anne Hathaway, Mother Mary. Quite interesting. You know, David Lowery films don't really get nominated, but Anne Hathaway, Oscar winner, multiple time nominee, lead of this film, that could be maybe a little bit more like Academy friendly type of thing where they're like, oh, we know Anne Hathaway. Amy Adams for Night Bitch. You know, I think she's going to be going really all out. Like, I hear it's going to be a lot from her, but I also hear that the movie is going to be divisive and not everyone's going to like it.
Yeah. It's about a woman who transforms into a dog. I don't know if it's at night or what.
It's probably it's like a metaphor for like motherhood, though.
So that's the kind of movie it is. All right, I'm not going to put her in for Best Actress, but she's around. Like, she could get some nominations from critics, maybe. Now, Saoirse Ronan in The Outrun is an interesting topic. She's number 9 in the app, so clearly people are like, oh, we see you in Blitz, so we don't want to put you in for Outrun. But I really do think if she weren't in Blitz, that people would be predicting her for The Outrun. And I still wouldn't predict her for The Outrun. It was a good movie, but it's not a player in any other categories. It's just not.
It was a very committed performance from her. It was a great performance, but I didn't actually view it as being like the most Oscar bait thing I've ever seen.
By the way, let's clear this up. The Outrun is not an international film because it's in the English language.
People on your app don't understand how international feature works. They think that Zone of Interest broke the category, but it didn't.
How does that make
I
sense?
don't know, because it's from the UK, so they got confused. You need to not be in English.
And you have to be from another country. Oh, you know what? Why don't we talk about the number 5 in my app right now, which is Zendaya for Challengers.
Why would you think that Zendaya is getting nominated? Even when Challengers isn't. Just because she's having a big year. No. This shows Saoirse Ronan being at number 1, Zendaya being there, Timothée Chalamet being all the way up there. There's a little bit of a bias.
It's just an early
for
year
these younger actors that people like and stan.
Or they just don't know what's happening this year and they know that Challengers is coming out.
I think there's a lot of options here that are not Zendaya that are very compelling, and I heard she's very good in it. You know, the reviews are great, but the movie I think is a bit too like young, like hot, sexy, bisexual for the Oscars, unless it really like took off in a unique way. And I think for it to do that, it would have to make a fuck ton of money. Like it'd be a mega hit. So unless it's a mega hit that lasts,
and there has to be a narrative about it as well, about why it's important, and that's
not there.
You know, Mad Max was like, oh, this is one of the best action films of all time. So was Top Gun.
Yeah,
also saved the box
Everything
office.
Everywhere. And
I don't see anything happening of that sort with
early,
Challengers. Like, what are you gonna say about it?
Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson, get him in there.
To be fair, even as this came out in fall, it wouldn't touch.
Maybe it would get score though. Maybe it will get scored.
Dunno.
Now, a lot of people think that Cynthia Erivo is getting nominated for Wicked Part 1. I don't...
A lot of people think that?
Okay,
that's not true.
Probably not a lot.
She's number 15.
Oh, well, I've heard number 16, so that's fine. Noemi Merlant for Emmanuel. You know, unfortunately, this didn't premiere at Cannes, so, you know, you don't really see that, like, sort of international path happening. Actually, have you considered what you think might win Cannes this year?
A little bit.
I haven't. Like, I don't know if my predictions have changed because of it, because we don't have an international contender from Cannes on our list. We have The Apprentice.
I've considered that it's probably going to be one of the international films, and that we're not going to know what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Or it could be The Girl with the Needle or something like that, and we just don't know right now.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to guess it this year. Zendaya for Dune Part 2. I think that's even less likely than her getting nominated for Challengers. I don't really see it.
People don't even know if she's lead, so...
Yeah, I think she'd be lead.
That's fine, but we're done with that. Mikey Madison for Honora in Sean Baker's film. She's probably going to give one of the year's best performances, because that's just what happens in Sean Baker movies. You know, someone gives one of the year's best performances. Probably won't happen for the Oscars. She's playing a sex worker. That's just, it's not going to touch it. Ryan Destiny for The Fire Inside, playing a boxer from Flint, Michigan. That seems like a meaty role, but I feel like the studio is not confident in it, especially with the release date. They're just not confident it's going to be an Oscar.
If it's coming out in like June or July, we need a trailer soon, I think. I've long listed Tessa Thompson for Hedda, June Squibb for Eleanor the Great, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. And also, I wonder, like, if his three daughters, like, if Netflix actually tries to go for that movie, let's say they put Natasha Lyonne in supporting, do you think that either Carrie Coon or Elizabeth Olsen could be campaigned in lead?
They can be campaigned all they want. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, what?
Nobody believes in Robin Wright.
No one believes in Robin Wright for Here?
Wow.
Wow,
No,
number
people on your
21?
app don't believe in Here.
I'm shocked that you all think Here is just totally nothing. Tilda Swinton, The Room Next Door, is she really that low? Number 36?
It's because we
Guys,
said it wasn't.
get on it.
It's because we said it
Get
wasn't
on top
coming
of
out.
it.
Hey, we said it wasn't coming out this
All
year.
right, well, get on top of that. Get Tilda
It's not
Swinton in
guaranteed.
here.
What if? Because usually
That's fine, but, like, have her in your list so
Usually,
that she
when
goes
there's
up.
like conflicting, like remember Colin Domingo Sing Sing? It was like, is that really going to compete with Preston? It was like it didn't. You know, maybe they have their eyes out and they're like, okay, maybe it's better to not release this year because of the end.
Yeah, I mean, usually these things just resolve happily somehow. Like Ingenue Ellis for supporting
Nickel Boys and Supremes. I don't know how that's going to resolve because both those movies are definitely.
But one of the movies
complete.
is just not going to get nominated for Best Picture. They're just not.
Sure,
but like
probably.
the odds that both of them are going to get nominated at this point are pretty low.
Well, I think it's more likely that
The likelihood that one of them gets nominated,
sure. It's more likely, I think, that Ingenue Ellis is doing more in Supremes.
But if Nickel Boys happens, she has to go along with it.
Says
she
who?
has to.
Says who?
Because no one else could get nominated for that.
What if it's screenplay and director? I don't know.
No.
Well, what if it's a supporting actor?
No, it's just going to have to be her.
Well, then how can you?
She's
going to
have to carry it on her back. How can you do it? Then the Supremes has to suck. I don't know what to say.
The universe can't it has to take care of it. Manage these things.
It can, because look at Andrew Garfield from Silence and Hacksaw Ridge.
He wouldn't have been nominated for that even if it was in picture, is the answer.
Yeah, so you never know what someone's doing.
All right. Well, stay tuned for more Ingenue Ellis talk in the supporting predictions, which will be coming soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Which movie do you think Tilda Swinton's getting in for?